Lolo Enki TV.
The Law of One, Book 2, Session 37. March 12, 1981. Ra, I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the One Infinite Creator. We communicate now. Questioner, you said that each third density entity has an higher self and the sixth density which is moving to the mind-body-spirit complex of the entity is needed. Does this higher self also evolve in growth through the densities beginning with the first density, and does each higher self have a corresponding higher self advanced in densities beyond it? Ra, I am Ra. To simplify this concept is our intent. The higher self is a manifestation given to the late sixth density mind-body-spirit complex as a gift from its future selfness. The mid-seventh density's last action before turning towards the allness of the Creator and gaining spiritual mass is to give this resource to the sixth density self, moving as you measure time in the stream of time. This self, the mind-body-spirit complex of late sixth density, has then the honor duty of using both the experiences of its total living bank of memory of experience, thoughts, and actions, and using the resource of the mind-body-spirit complex totality left behind as a type of infinitely complex thought form. In this way you may see yourself, your higher self or oversoul, and your mind-body-spirit complex totality as 3 points in a circle. The only distinction is that of your time-space continuum. All are the same being. Questioner, does each entity have an individual mind-body-spirit complex totality or do a number of entities share the same mind-body-spirit complex totality? Ra, I am Ra. Both of these statements are correct given the appropriate time-space conditions. Each entity has its totality, and at the point at which a planetary entity becomes a social memory complex, the totality of this union of entities also has its oversoul and its social memory complex totality as resource. As always, the sum, spiritually speaking, is greater than the sum of its parts, so that the oversoul of a social memory complex is not the sum of the oversouls of its member entities but operates upon the way of what we have called squares and what we grasp you prefer to call doubling. Questioner, thank you. And thank you for that explanation of the mathematics too. Could you define spiritual mass? Ra, I am Ra. This will be the last full question of this session. Spiritual mass is that which begins to attract the outmoving and ongoing vibratory oscillations of beingness into the gravity, speaking in a spiritual sense, well of the great central sun, core, or creator of the infinite universes. Questioner, since we don't want to tire the instrument, I will just ask if there is anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or to improve the contact? Ra, I am Ra. All is well. We leave you now in the love and the light of the One Infinite Creator. Go forth, then, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the One Infinite Creator. Adonai. The Law of One, Book 2, Session 38. March 13, 1981. Ra, I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the One Infinite Creator. We communicate now. Questioner, backtracking just a little bit today, I would like to know if the reason nuclear energy was brought into this density 40 or so years ago had anything to do with giving the entities who were here who had caused the destruction of Maldek and other chance to use nuclear energy peacefully rather than destructively? Ra, I am Ra. This is incorrect in that it places cart before horse, as your people say. The desire for this type of information attracted this data to your people. It was not given for a reason from outside influences, rather it was desired by your peoples. From this point forward your reasoning is correct in that entities had desired the second chance which you mentioned. Questioner, what was the mechanism for fulfilling the desire for the information regarding nuclear energy? Ra, I am Ra. As we understand your query, the mechanism was what you may call inspiration. Questioner, would this inspiration be an entity impressing the person desiring the information with thoughts? Would this be the mechanism of inspiration? Ra, I am Ra. The mechanism of inspiration involves an extraordinary faculty of desire or will to know or to receive in a certain area, accompanied by the ability to open to and trust in what you may call intuition. Questioner, could you tell me how each of the rays, red through violet, would appear in a perfectly balanced and undistorted entity? Ra, I am Ra. We cannot tell you this, for each balance is perfect and each unique. We do not mean to be obscure. Let us offer an example. In a particular entity, let us use as an example a wanderer, the rays may be viewed as extremely even, red, orange, yellow. The green ray is extremely bright. This is, shall we say, balanced by a dimmer indigo. Between these two the point of balance resides, the blue ray of the communicator sparkling in strength above the ordinary. In the violet ray we see this unique spectrograph, if you will, and at the same time the pure violet surrounding the whole, this in turn, surrounded by that which mixes the red and violet ray, indicating the integration of mind, body, and spirit, this surrounded in turn by the vibratory pattern of this entity's true density. This description may be seen to be both unbalanced and in perfect balance. The latter understanding is extremely helpful in dealing with other selves. The ability to feel blockages is useful only to the healer. There is not properly a tiny fraction of judgment when viewing a balance in colors. Of course, when we see many of the energy plexi weakened and blocked, we may understand that an entity has not yet grasped the baton and begun the race. However, the potentials are always there. All the rays fully balanced are there and waiting to be activated. Perhaps another way to address your query is this. In the fully potentiated entity the rays mount one upon the other with equal vibratory brilliance and scintillating sheen until the surrounding color is white. This is what you may call potentiated balance in third density. Questioner: is it possible for a third density planet to form a social memory complex which operates in third density? Ra: I am Ra. It is possible only in the latter or seventh portion of such a density when entities are harmoniously readying for graduation. Questioner: could you give me an example of a planet of this nature, both a third density service to others type and a third density service to self type at this level of attainment? Ra: I am Ra. As far as we are aware, there are no negatively oriented third density social memory complexes. Positively oriented social memory complexes of third density are not unheard of but quite rare. However, an entity from the star Sirius planetary body has approached this planetary body twice. This entity is late third density and is part of a third density social memory complex. This has been referred to in the previous material. The social memory complex is properly a fourth density phenomenon. Questioner: I was wondering if that particular social memory complex from the Sirius star evolved from trees? Ra: I am Ra. This approaches correctness. Those second density vegetation forms which graduated into third density upon this planet bearing the name of dog were close to the tree as you know it. Questioner: I was also wondering, since action of a bellicose nature is impossible as far as I understand vegetation, would they not have the advantage as they move into third density from second to not carry a racial memory of a bellicose nature and therefore develop a more harmonious society and accelerate their evolution in this nature? Ra: I am Ra. This is correct. However, to become balanced and begin to polarize properly, it is then necessary to investigate movements of all kinds, especially bellicosity. Questioner: I am assuming, then, that their investigations of bellicosity were primarily of the type that they extracted from Hickson's memory rather than warfare among themselves? Ra: I am Ra. This is correct. Entities of this heritage would find it nearly impossible to fight. Indeed, their studies of movements of all kinds is their form of meditation due to the fact that their activity is upon the level of what you would call meditation and thus must be balanced. Just as your entities need constant moments of meditation to balance your activities. Questioner: I believe that this is an important point for us in understanding the balancing aspect of meditation since we have here its antithesis in another type of evolution. These entities moved, we are told by Charlie Hickson, without moving their legs. I am assuming that they used a principle that is somewhat similar to the principle of movement of your crystal bells in the movement of their physical vehicles. Is this correct? Ra: I am Ra. This is partially incorrect. Questioner: I am assuming that their method of movement is not a function of mechanical leverage such as ours, but a direct function of the mind somehow connected with the magnetic action of a planet. Is this right? Ra: I am Ra. This is largely correct. It is an electromagnetic phenomenon which is controlled by thought impulses of a weak electrical nature. Questioner: would their craft have been visible to anyone on our planet in that area at that time? Is it of a third density material like this chair? Ra: I am Ra. This is correct. Please ask one more full question before we close as this instrument has low vital energy at this space-time. Questioner: could you give me some idea of what conditions are like on a fourth density negative or service to self planet? Ra: I am Ra. The graduation into fourth density negative is achieved by those beings who have consciously contacted intelligent infinity through the use of red, orange, and yellow rays of energy. Therefore, the planetary conditions of fourth density negative include the constant alignment and realignment of entities in efforts to form dominant patterns of combined energy, The early fourth density is one of the most intensive struggle. When the order of authority has been established and all have fought until convinced that each is in the proper placement for power structure, the social memory complex begins. Always the fourth density effective telepathy and the transparency of thought are attempted to be used for the sake of those at the apex of the power structure. This, as you may see, is often quite damaging to the further polarization of fourth density negative entities, for the further negative polarization can come about only through group effort. As the fourth density entities manage to combine, they then polarize through such services to self as those offered by the Crusaders of Orion. You may ask more specific questions in the next session of working. Are there any brief queries before we leave this instrument? Questioner: I would just ask if there is anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or to improve the contact? Ra: I am Ra. All is well. We leave you in the love and light of the One Infinite Creator. Go forth rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the One Creator. Adonai. The Law of One, Book 2, Session 39. March 16, 1981. Ra: I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the One Infinite Creator. We communicate now. Questioner: I noticed that most of the basic things seem to be divided into units which total 7. In looking at a transcript by Henry Puharich of the 9, I found a statement by the 9 where they say, if we get 7 times the electrical equivalent of the human body, then it would result in 7 of the mass of electricity. Could you explain this? Ra: I am Ra. To explain this is beyond the abilities of your language. We shall, however, make an attempt to address this concept. As you are aware, in the beginning of the creations set up by each logos, there are created the complete potentials, both electrical, in the sense the one you call Larson intends, and metaphysical. This metaphysical electricity is as important in the understanding, shall we say, of this statement as is the concept of electricity. This concept, as you are aware, deals with potentiated energy. The electron has been said to have no mass but only a field. Others claim a mass of infinitesimal measure. Both are correct. The true mass of the potentiated energy is the strength of the field. This is also true metaphysically. However, in your present physical system of knowledge, it is useful to take the mass number of the electron in order to do work that you may find solutions to other questions about the physical universe. In such a way, you may conveniently consider each density of being to have a greater and greater spiritual mass. The mass increases, shall we say, significantly but not greatly until the gateway density. In this density, the summing up, the looking backwards, in short, all the useful functions of polarity have been used. Therefore, the metaphysical electrical nature of the individual grows greater and greater in spiritual mass. For an analog, one may observe the work of the one known as Albert, who posits the growing to infinity of mass as this mass approaches the speed of light. Thus the 7th density being, the completed being, the creator who knows itself, accumulates mass and compacts into the one creator once again. Questioner: then in the equation here I am assuming me is spiritual mass. Me equals, Mo C2. 1v2c2 half. Ra: I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner: thank you. Can you tell me what this transmission from the 9 means? CH is a principle which is the revealing principle of knowledge and of law. Can you tell me what that principle is? Ra: I am Ra. The principle so veiled in that statement is but the simple principle of the constant or creator and the transient or the incarnate being, and the yearning existing between the two, one for the other. In love and light amidst the distortions of free will acting upon the illusion-bound entity. Questioner: was the reason the 9 transmitted this principle in this form the first distortion? Ra: I am Ra. This is incorrect. Questioner: can you tell me why they gave the principle in such a veiled form then? Ra: I am Ra. The scribe is most interested in puzzles and equations. Questioner: I see. The 9 describe themselves as the 9 principles of God. Can you tell me what they mean by that? Ra: I am Ra. This is also a veiled statement. The attempt is made to indicate that the 9 who sit upon the council are those representing the Creator, the one Creator, just as there may be 9 witnesses in a courtroom testifying for one defendant. The term principle has this meaning also. The desire of the scribe may be seen in much of this material to have affected the manner of its presentation, just as the abilities and preferences of this group determine the nature of this contact. The difference lies in the fact that we are as we are. Thus we may either speak as we will or not speak at all. This demands a very tuned, shall we say, group. Questioner: I sense that there is fruitful ground for investigation of our development in tracing the evolution of the bodily energy centers, because these 7 centers seem to be linked with all of the 7s that I spoke of previously. And these seem to be central to our own development. Could you describe the process of evolution of these bodily energy centers, starting with the most primitive form of life to have them? Ra, I am Ra. This material has been covered previously to some extent. Therefore, we shall not repeat information upon which rays dwell in first and second density and the wherefores of this, but rather attempt to enlarge upon this information. The basic pivotal points of each level of development, that is, each density beyond second, may be seen to be as follows. Firstly, the basic energy of so-called red ray. This ray may be understood to be the basic strengthening ray for each density. It shall never be condescended to as less important or productive of spiritual evolution, for it is the foundation ray. The next foundation ray is yellow. This is the great stepping stone ray. At this ray the mind-body potentiates to its fullest balance. The strong red-orange-yellow triad springboards the entity into the center ray of green. This is again a basic ray but not a primary ray. This is the resource for spiritual work. When green ray has been activated, we find the third primary ray being able to begin potentiation. This is the first true spiritual ray in that all transfers are of an integrated mind-body-spirit nature. The blue ray seats the learnings teachings of the spirit in each density within the mind-body complex, animating the whole, communicating to others this entirety of beingness. The indigo ray, though precious, is that ray worked upon only by the adept, as you would call it. It is the gateway to intelligent infinity, bringing intelligent energy through. This is the energy center worked upon in those teachings considered inner, hidden, and occult, for this ray is that which is infinite in its possibilities. As you are aware, those who heal, teach, and work for the Creator in any way which may be seen to be both radiant and balanced are those activities which are indigo ray. As you are aware, the violet ray is constant and does not figure into a discussion of the functions of ray activation, in that it is the mark, the register, the identity, the true vibration of an entity. Questioner, in order to clarify a little bit, I would like to ask this question. If we have a highly polarized entity polarized towards service to others and a highly polarized entity polarized towards service to self, what would be the difference in the red ray of these two entities? Ra, I am Ra. This shall be the last full question of this working. There is no difference in equally strongly polarized positive and negative entities as regards red ray. Questioner, is this also true of all of the other rays? Ra, I am Ra. We shall answer briefly. You may question further at another working. The negative ray pattern is the red-orange-yellow moving directly to the blue, this only being used in order to contact intelligent infinity. In positively oriented entities the configuration is even, crystallinely clear, and of the 7-ray description. Are there any short queries before we leave this instrument? Questioner, I would just ask if there is anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable and to improve the contact? Ra, I am Ra. You are most conscientious. All is well. I leave you, my friends, in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth therefore rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one Creator. Adonai.